Hey everybody, in this video we're going to work with returning values from a function. A lot of times when we call functions, we've been just printing stuff out, but we don't always want to print stuff to the user because they don't really care what functions do or what's happening inside of them. They just want the program to do whatever it was designed to do. So we need to learn how to return values from a function instead of just printing them out. And in order to learn that, we're going to work with one that we've already played with before, and that is input. Input is a function and it returns a value. So if we run this and we type in blue, blue gets returned back to where the function was called. So it'd go right here. So this is what it would look like after we hit enter. So this console right here is returning a value back to where the function was called. That's really a very key idea. Where does it go back to? It goes back to, or it gets returned to, wherever the function is called. All right, so let's get rid of this one and let's make a function for calculating taxes. Now, let's go ahead and make a program that the user enters a price and then we print like a receipt for them. So we're going to do taxes, we're going to do the total, we're going to add in the tip and everything. So we're going to have one function that says calc taxes. And let's go ahead and make a variable. And we want to calculate the tax. In order to do that, we need two pieces of information. We need the price of stuff, whatever that is. It could be one thing, it could be many things, but we'll call it price. And we need the tax rate. And we'll do it as a percentage. So tax percent. And right here, we'll do price times the tax percent. And then we're going to go ahead and divide it by 100 since it is a percentage. And then just to make sure that this is working, let's go ahead and print out the tax. And if we run it, we see nothing happens because what do we have to do? Call the function and give it some values. So let's give it 100. That way we can pretty easily check to see if it's working properly. And then 5.5, let's say for this. And we get 5.5. So we get $5.50. If we have $100 and the tax rate is 5.5%. So that works really well. Very nice. Let's make another function. This one's going to actually calculate the grand total. So we'll just call it calc total. In order to calculate the total, we need to give it the price or the prices of everything. We need to give it the tax that was calculated up here. And then we're going to go ahead and add in a tip. So then we're going to make a variable, and let's call this variable total. And it's just simply going to be the prices of everything, the tax, and then the tip. So nothing special. Let's just add everything together. And then just to make sure that this works, let's go ahead and print the total. All right, so we're calling the taxes function. Let's go ahead and call the total function. Now the total is going to have, the first parameter is going to have the price, which is 100. And then the tax, we don't know yet because it's going to be calculated up here. So I'll leave a space for that and then some kind of tip. So let's take a little pause here and let's make some variables because I see 100 here and 100 here. So let's just go ahead and make a variable. So we're kind of repeating code and maybe I want to change it later to or get information from the user, which is what we're going to do on this one. So let's get a value from the user. We'll do enter the price. Simple as that. Now, this input returns a string. As we showed up here with the word blue, it was in quotes. Even if we enter a number here, it's still going to be in quotes, which means it's a string. So in order to do some math with it, we're going to have to convert it to a number. And we're not going to use an integer because an integer would cut off the decimal place. It says that we're working with money. We need to have the decimal place in there. So we're going to use a float. So whatever price we enter here, it's going to look something like, let's say 425. And then that 425 is going to come down here. And then the float function is going to convert it to 425 like this. That's how that works. All right. So now that we've figured this out, let's go ahead and enter price here and price here. So now we're getting that from the user. Already made our program way better. And then we'll keep the tax rate as 5.5 And yeah, and then we need to do taxes and then the tip. So let's make a tip one right here. Let's say the tip is just $2.50. And then we'll do $2.50. Like we could calculate the tip based off of how much the price was and everything, but we're already doing something like that with taxes and that'll be sufficient. Now, this right here, we don't know what the taxes are. So the taxes are up here. It's being calculated and it's only being printed over here for us to look at, but we can't use it anywhere else in our program right now. So how do I get the value that's in here down to here so that I can go into the calculate total function right here? And that happens by using a return. So we're going to go ahead and do return instead of a print, and then we'll just return the tax. Then the question is, where does it return it to? Like we said before up here, it returns it wherever we called the function calc taxes. So calc taxes goes right here. So this 5.5 that gets returned is going to end up looking like this. But a line of code that looks like this really isn't useful. We should store this value of 5.5 in a variable so that way we can use it right here. So let's go back and we're going to make a variable called taxes. And we're going to store whatever the taxes are, in this case 5.5, in here. And then we can use that right here. So that was a kind of like a back and forth, but that's the idea with returning values, like numbers just move around or values just move around. So let's go ahead and run this and let's put a price of 100 in, and then we get $108. So we get 108 because we have our original 100. Our taxes were $5.5 and we have a tip of $2.50. So now we took the value that was calculated here, we brought it down here in taxes, and then we passed it into this other function right here as a tax. And then we use that right here, and then we printed it right here. So that is pretty sweet. That is a powerful function right there. Ones that return values. Let's go ahead and do the exact same thing for calc total. Let's not print it right here, but let's just return it. And then let's go ahead and store what's being returned down here. And then what we can do is we can go ahead and do a bunch of print statements and kind of show it like a receipt. So let's do an F string, and then we can do subtotal, I guess they call them. And then we can do, I think it's price. Yeah, that's what we use for this one. And then let's make a new print statement. Let's get some lines here. Another print statement. Let's do F string. After that is usually maybe something like taxes. And then we will do taxes right here. We called it taxes. Yep. So not tax that's up here, but taxes that's down here. This tax up here is only available inside of this function. As soon as it gets returned, it doesn't exist anymore. So we have to use taxes here and total here. Notice that the name was different up here, tax and taxes here. Here I have total and total. And notice you can kind of see this. It doesn't like it that I have a total here and a total here. Maybe we can call this one like a subtotal. It's not really a subtotal though. We can call it, well, let's just see what happens if we keep it the same. Because in most languages, it doesn't matter if they're the same. Should be okay. So print, and then we're going to do, let's add in the tip. So we'll do tip, and then tip. And then one last one, we're going to do a print statement for the total. And then see how this goes. And we got total. Let's go ahead and run this. $100. We get a subtotal of 100. Our taxes are 5.5, which we figured out before. Our tip was $2.50, and our total is 108. Let's make this a little bit nicer just by chucking this little N here for a new line character. So this is like the slash that's above the enter key, then a new line. And then let's put in another value like 200. We get 200, 5.5 multiplied by 2 is 11. We still have a tip of $2.50, which ends up being a total of $213.50. So in review, whenever we make a function, we don't always want to print stuff out. It'd be good just to return it. Most of the time, we're going to return things from functions. But we have to remember that whenever we return something, where does it get returned to, where they're called, and then we should store that inside of some kind of variable so that we can use it later in our program. Nice job learning about functions that return a value. Next up is a little quirky thing with Python. Really good practice is to make a main function. Helps you not jack up your code as much. You guys can learn that over here. Or you guys can go back and learn about functions with parameters. Boom, right there. Take care. Bye.